Hey everybody, welcome to the second video of the series, Making Peace with Our Past. So today I want to talk about the virtue of forgetting but not forgiving. So of course, we've heard the other advice, right? That we should forgive but not forget. And there's a reason why that might seem to be wisdom. And that is, for one thing, we want to forgive because often we want to be able to continue on relationship with somebody without having hard feelings. So the idea of forgiving is we're going to release these bad feelings so that we can be okay with somebody. They're not continually carrying with them this burden of pain. But we want to not forget, or we want to remember it, because our ego minds believe that by collecting lessons, they can construct a pathway or a coping mechanism for us that prevents us from getting hurt. So every lesson is like a rock, and we take up that rock and we put it in our backpack and we carry it with us. So the theory behind that is that it's going to help us lead to safer lives. But the reality of it is not that. The reality is we are carrying with us spiritual gravity, which automatically limits our ability to be spontaneous and follow our intuition. And actually, it drains our energy. You're carrying with you a bunch of stuff that's making you tired. And secondly, because we're constantly focusing on avoiding these things like rejection or pain, we're focusing on avoiding them. Our focus actually can draw those things to us. The law of attraction tells us whatever we focus on creates the vibration of that thing and brings it to us. So even though the theory is that we're going to watch out for it and stay safe, we could be, by watching out for it, bringing it to us. So I want to argue for the virtue of forgetting but not forgiving. So when I say not forgiving in this context, what I'm saying is we should not agree to things that we don't want. It's a wonderful thing to have discernment about ourselves and to say, what do I prefer? What do I not prefer? What do I want to achieve? What do I want to avoid? These things help us decide what kind of path we are trying to create. And I believe when we ask those questions, we're actually inviting our deeper purpose to speak. Does this serve my highest good or does it not? So when you forgive, in the very, very linear version of it, you're saying, well, this happened to me and I didn't like it, but it's okay. I'm saying we should never say it's okay. We should say, this happened to me, I don't like it, it's not okay, and I'm going to do something about it. So I liken it to having a recipe, and you make a cake from this recipe, and the recipe is too sweet. The cake is sweeter than you would like. You don't just say, well, it's too sweet for me, but what can I do? I'll just keep eating the cake. You say, nope, I'm going to adjust the recipe. Okay, I'm going to fix it till I find the right amount of sweet that matches my tastes. So we understand in the spiritual journey that our souls are constantly bringing to us different lessons to help us expand and grow and heal. So when something comes along that we don't like, it's an opportunity for us to say, what is this showing me about myself? Where is the brokenness that is being pointed to? How do I zero in on the areas of my life where there is still a need for love, compassion, and release? And it's just like that recipe. You go into the recipe, you figure out how to tweak it. You do the same thing with your spiritual life. So you don't forgive, you adjust, you adapt, you solve the problem. Once you've solved the problem, you change the recipe. Okay, so once you figure out the right combination of sugars and flours, then you write it down and you can forget about that old cake that you didn't like. There's no reason to keep reliving that cake that was too sweet. You say, well, sure, but I fixed it, so there's no reason for me to worry about a too sweet cake any longer. And that's why forgetting is so powerful. You've already learned the lesson. You've already made the adjustments. There's no reason to worry about the same lesson coming again. It's not coming again. I solved the problem. And so then you're able to walk into the world with a certain kind of freedom and buoyancy, and you're able to engage each moment in the moment, as opposed to carrying with you all this past stuff. Now, that is not to say that more stuff is not going to come up that you don't like. I absolutely guarantee that it will. It's just that as it comes to you, you do the same thing you did before. You go, okay, it's not what I want. What's the lesson? What's the blessing? How do I solve the vibrational problem here so that I can move on without this problem? So it's really kind of, instead of about, I'm going to learn the lesson and keep it with me forever, you say, I learned the lesson and I solved the lesson. And then I move on with a new feeling of confidence, a new kind of power, and my energy a little more restored. So I hope that's helpful for you today. See you next time. Bye.